Is that a trick question? This man was a bona fide scrub. Bona fide scrub.
This dude, I believe he's a bona fide superstar right now.
Right. Oh, well, of course, it's all about winning, baby.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the Star and Scrub NBA podcast, a free agency review episode. Lee's back with me, enjoying yet another lockdown. How are we going, mate? Hope the spirits are still high.
Spirits are still high, day 3 only, so I'll check back in with you in a couple of days' time, but always happy to be. How you doing, mate? I see you got a Thibault jersey. It looks very authentic, actually.
Yeah, no, it is. Paid good money from the NBA store, travelled all the way from America in these COVID times, so happy to get it just before the Boomers game against the US, the semi-final that we unfortunately went down in. But as I said, this will be a free agency review episode, but we will start with the Boomers getting the bronze medal last night. Did you stay up and watch the game against Luka and the Slovenians?
I watched every dribble of it. It's good to see Steph Curry. Patty Mills put on an absolute clinic. 40. I cannot believe what sort of player he turns into come NBA. International basketball time. It is actually mind-blowing. Did you watch? You would have watched every dribble, I'm sure.
Yeah. I thought it was Steph Curry out there as well. Just the amount of threes he was throwing up in the first half. And he wasn't even making all of them. I saw a stat in the first half. He was 3 of 9 at one stage. It's only 33%, but he'd thrown up 9 threes in the first half. It was absolutely incredible. And he outplayed Luka. It was absolutely incredible. I think the way that the two teams defended against, how the Slovenians defended against Paddy and how we defended against Luka was vastly different. I thought we did a really good job of doubling him a lot and obviously throwing Thibault and the likes at him. I thought we did a pretty good job. Thought we were going to choke it there in the fourth quarter, but fortunately clutched it out, and so proud of the boys to get Australia's first ever medal in men's basketball at the Olympics.
I think it's a fantastic, obviously, achievement, first of all, but I think Australian basketball is on the rise. The NBL and the way that international players, they play on the international stage, I should say, I think we're going to be getting a lot of more talent coming our way because of the way that Australian basketball is forming. So it's a great time to be an Australian basketball fan and a bright future ahead, that's for sure.
I'd love to know what Ben Simmons made of it. I'm glad that he finally put up a post of sorts on his Instagram story congratulating the boys for the bronze medal. But, just to get negative about it, it's just disappointing, I guess, that he's not there. And I just really wonder what he thinks and what he makes, especially when, the old guys, the former players like Andrew Gaze especially, we saw how emotional he was on the Channel 7 broadcast. I'd love to see what Ben Simmons makes of things like that, because that kind of spirit that Andrew Gaze and the old guys have for the national team is just obviously not there with Ben Simmons, and you obviously just want to try and throw some of that spirit that those old guys have into Ben, and hopefully, he's still young, hopefully sometime down the track we can see him in a Boomers uniform at the Olympics. But he's been in the news, not only obviously previously because of his lack of participation for Australia, but also trade reports and potentially on his way out of Philadelphia, not replying reportedly to any of Joel Embiid or any other Philadelphia 76ers management calls. So what have you made of that? Do you think Ben Simmons will be on Philadelphia come training camp? Because right now it seems like a very sticky situation.
I do not think that he'll be on the Philadelphia training camp. And what's weird is he's not replying to them. He was the one that had a bad postseason. How can you get me mad at them for it? Yeah. Anyway, but that's, who knows what is.
Well, I think he's mad because I think especially, Embiid and even Doc Rivers threw him under the bus a little bit. Yes, he had a poor playoff series, end of the playoffs there against Atlanta, but, not all the blame should have gone on him, I think, at the end of the day. Embiid had some good games, but also struggled down the stretch. Doc Rivers, we know his record in playoffs hasn't been great over the past few years, so, yeah, reportedly wants to come to my Warriors, and we knew what the trade package was prior to the draft. That's gone out the window now, and I'm not sure I really want him, to be honest. To be totally honest, I'd give up Wiggins and Moses Moody, and that's about it, because I don't know how if you saw it, our man Kuminga in the first California, his debut game for the Warriors in the California Classic looked amazing. And I think prior to the draft, I might have been happy to give up pick 7 in a Ben Simmons trade, but no, not anymore. I want Kuminga on the Warriors for a long time to come, hopefully.
Someone needs to explain to me how Draymond and Ben Simmons can be on the same court together for one team. I don't see how that fit works, and I don't.
That's the one difficulty. Like you literally couldn't have a center out there at the same time. You're basically saying that Draymond Green's your center, or even Ben Simmons is your center.
I don't see how that fit works, and I don't know if his attitude or the way he's coming across would actually fit the Warriors thing. So I'm happy with your Warriors, honestly. If I obviously I got my vendetta against the Warriors, but I think you're set. You're fine with your roster to make a run.
Yeah, I don't think we need to. Even if Simmons is a slight upgrade on Wiggins, Wiggins is a better fit. I don't think we necessarily need to do it. But how about we get off my team, get onto your team, and get into the winners section of free agency and do a review here. We collaborated on our winners, and we let each other know of our 3 winners and 3 losers. And disappointingly to say, we both had the Miami Heat in our winners. So do you want to start off with how excited you are? Well, I just don't want to hear you. I just don't want to hear you go on for 10 minutes about how good the Miami Heat are, because I have some reservations, but I've put them in there anyway because I knew you would.
I've only gone on for 9 minutes, so I think we improved the most out of. I think I love the way we've improved. I love Kyle Lowry, even before he joined the Miami Heat. I love him as a leader, as a winner. He's got off ball. We talked about the 40% shooting that he still has to him. And I didn't realize how close of a mate he is with Jimmy Butler. Apparently, he's the godfather of Jimmy Butler's daughter, which is a fun fact I found out.
Yeah, I read that as well.
They've been great mates for a while, and I think they sort of fit that the Miami Heat mold. I think we kind of built almost a reputation as a sort of tougher, grittier team. Someone like PJ Tucker, Marcus Morris coming in. Obviously, we've got Markeith, there we go. And I don't know if you got to see Omar Yutsvin, I think his name is, quite literally. Omar Yutsvin, it might be a slight steal. We've got him on a cheap contract. But he's a 23-year-old centre from Turkey, spreads the floor, 7 foot, so it's kind of good to see him and the thing. And I won't go as far as to saying we're title contenders yet. I won't go that far. I think for us to be title contenders, Bam Adebayo needs to average like 23, 11, 5 assists, 2 blocks, be defensive player of the year. I think he needs to make a monumental step for us to be title contenders. I'm happy with us to put up against most teams, but I won't go as far as saying we're title contenders. Still got the incredible coach in Spo, and Oladipo as well, cheap contract. Glad we got him on a cheap.
Yeah, that was a win. So that was one of the biggest ones that you said in our preview episode, doing a 1-year prove-it contract for Victor Oladipo. Well, I think you got him even cheaper than what you said, so that's a massive win.
I think I'm very happy with that, and I'm very happy with my squad on paper. Obviously, health pending, but I'm quite happy. How much of that are you happy with? Are you as optimistic as I am about?
No, I'm not as optimistic because I'm not a Heat fan at the end of the day. Let's be honest. Lowry's old. He is. How much of an upgrade is he on Goran Dragic? He's an upgrade, but is it enough to push you back into top 3 in the East, top 4 in the East? That's my question mark. PJ Tucker, I thought, was a real offensive liability in the playoffs. I thought he was almost 4-5 when you're on offense for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, to steal him away from the Bucks is a win in itself because it's someone you're taking away from the reigning champions and obviously the champions of the Eastern Conference. So obviously a rivalry there. So to get Tucker away is a good win, but he was not a great offensive player whatsoever. And I mean, I think he's overrated a bit as a defender. I guess you're keeping Kevin Durant to 50 points. It's like, stop telling me that PJ Tucker is this all-worldly defender against Kevin Durant, because I feel like every time I've seen them play, KD has 35 plus. I don't know. We can't be worse than this year that we just had, and I reckon we'll compete with most teams. I think Miami will be a pesky team in a way. As I said, I'm not going to say a title contender just yet, but I'm very happy with my squad on paper. The other one, sorry, before you finish, Duncan Robinson. We argued at length, I guess, last week about how much he should get paid. 90 mil over 5 years. Are you happy with that?
I am, because I've checked the numbers. His shooting numbers and are historic good. Like, every record that he has got so far is up there with Steph and Clay in terms of clip and efficiency. So I'm happy, and as I said, he probably is going to be the fourth option on the team, and that's where I want him staying. So and it's a great story.
Yeah, and I also want that to be the one and only time ever that you compare Duncan Robinson to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Please don't ever do that again.
Oh, we do it. No, I wouldn't go that far, mate.
Please don't. We just did.
My second winner that I had is something I'll almost have to double down on. So as you know, I said Kai Jones will go top 10 to the Charlotte Hornets, and it didn't quite pan out how I thought it would. But the Charlotte Hornets, I think, were big winners in the off-season. I think from their draft, they walk away with James Bouknight and Kai Jones. And why I love Kai Jones in the first place is his immense potential and the fact he only just started playing organised basketball. But James Bouknight, as in the backcourt with LaMelo Ball, is a fantastic player. We talked about the Jordan Clarkson comparison. He has the defensive potential. He's 6'5", he's a big guy, he's got the long arms, and I think Kai Jones is the type of big man that would be perfect for LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball made Bismack Biyombo look almost half decent some games. Miles Bridges as well, he kind of almost looked pretty decent. So I think LaMelo Ball has got those sort of players that can play off ball, and he can turn them into something. Kelly Oubre's a guy that a lot has to go right for him, but maybe it can be a piece for him. So I saw the Charlotte Hornets as big winners in this offseason. Did you like, which of their moves did you like this offseason? Did anything on there you liked?
Yeah, I liked them. I thought they got a steal with Bouknight at pick 11. Jones, probably a good pick at 19, that's for sure. I'm not a huge, we talked about in the previous episode, I'm not the biggest fan of Kelly Oubre Jr. It's disappointing we couldn't get a sign and trade for him and kind of have that salary spot, but I'm really not too annoyed whatsoever. He had a pretty disappointing season. I just don't think he plays well in the Warriors system, but I do agree that his athleticism and whatnot, getting out on the fast break, could be helpful, especially with an elite passer like LaMelo. So yeah, he could make a jump. I guess that three ball's the big thing for him. Can he get back up to a mid-30s, late 30s% 3-point shooter at the end of the day?
I think that it's just a great way to build and moving forward. And I sometimes forget LaMelo Ball got them to the playoffs, even with a very average squad. So imagine the bit younger team, a bit more experience for him. I think
they didn't make the playoffs, but yeah, they were close.
They were close too. So imagine with a bit better players, then he should be all right. Who was another winner for you?
For me, the Chicago Bulls. So they made a couple of moves. I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant on them because I want to see them first. But for me, we just talked about LaMelo. We got Lonzo Ball in for the Chicago Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. They made some moves. Now, whether they'll end up being good moves that actually make a difference and can catapult them up the Eastern Conference, we'll wait and see. But I like a team that's been down the bottom for a while, at least kind of putting the money where their mouth is kind of thing and going out and actually acquiring some guys. I thought Lonzo's contract was a pretty good one. DeRozan, 3 years is probably a stretch. I would have probably only given him 2, but he's an underrated player, I think, hiding away at the Spurs there. Not a lot of people watch San Antonio play. He's actually turned himself into a pretty good playmaker. So not only a guy that can obviously put up buckets and get points on the board, especially from the mid-range area. We know how lethal he is there, but also a guy that can now get you 6-7 assists. I don't know though, it's an interesting one because DeRozan needs the ball in his hands to be effective. LaVine needs the ball in his hands to be effective. And I don't know, to maximise Lonzo, I'd like the ball in his hands a bit as well, but I just worry that he's actually going to turn into that 3-and-D type that we saw at the end of the season with New Orleans, where Zion and Brandon Ingram were handling the ball a lot.
Yeah, Chicago Bulls, they made some moves, I guess, in a positive direction. Lonzo and Zach LaVine in a backcourt's great, but I have a few reservations about their moves and some of their future aspects. So it's something I'll touch on later, but I'm sure you have something to say there. My third winner, though, in the in this offseason is actually Rob Pelinka / LeBron / the Lakers, because there's lots of rumors as to who's actually the GM of the Lakers. But
Well, we know you had your hate, and now you had to put LeBron in there in the Lakers, didn't
I
you?
don't know if I got to touch on LeBron last week, so yeah, it's gone one episode too long. But experience is what they've gone heavy on, and familiarity. Obviously, Dwight Howard's third stint at the Lakers. It's Wayne Ellington, Bazemore, even Ariza actually won a chip, which is kind of crazy. And I think why I think they're big winners. So obviously, there's criticisms about the age and stuff. Is more who they flip them for. You lost Kuz, KCP, Montrezl, and I think there was a first round pick in there.
Yeah.
And you probably even go back even further. You got rid of Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and you got Anthony Davis, who's probably one of the most skilled big men in NBA history, and you got a ring out of it. So I think it's more just the moves they've made and what you had to give up. And obviously, being a LeBron fanatic, as you know, I'm actually pretty optimistic that this team would actually go far. I think that LeBron's always just appreciated like veterans. LeBron doesn't really play well with like kids, like youngish people, and maybe some more defensive minded people would be good. But how do you think about their age? I know age has been a big thing about the Lakers, but how do you feel about their age?
Yeah, I mean, how many of these guys are in their prime? Honestly, how many of these? AD is in his prime, I guess, but he's always injury prone. The best signing I thought for them was Malik Monk. I was surprised with that deal and how cheap they were able to get him. So Malik Monk I thought was a good get, but all these other guys, it's like Trevor Ariza was good 4 years ago for the Houston Rockets. Kent Bazemore, such and such. Like I don't really care about Kent Bazemore. Obviously lost him from the Warriors. I mean, he was okay for us last year. He actually shot the ball pretty well from deep, but then he's a guy who fouls too much and just can make some silly plays on offense and try and just force things too much. That's, Dwight was good with Orlando 12 years ago. Like how many of these guys are actually even close to their prime? Carmelo's been solid for Portland, but he's 37 years old, kind of thing. Like, yeah, I don't know.
When you look, I get the age reservations, but when you look up how old the league is, the top teams are old. KD's 32, Harden's 31, Steph's 33. Like even in Miami, I'm not going to say we're a title contender, but we're probably a top team. Kyle Lowry's 35, and like even the Clippers boys, they're like 30s as well. So and what our biggest criticism of young teams in the playoffs is their inexperience. Like we always say, they can't go too far. We saw some of the Celtics boys, the Suns boys got too big for them. So the league's pretty old, and I think you need old players to win. But who knows? I just think that for what you flipped it for, I think they did well.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got some reservations, but again, it's like all these teams. We'll wait and see when the season starts how they look. I think they're definitely made for playoff basketball more so than necessarily the regular season, that's for sure. One of the Lakers' enemies, I guess, in terms of championship contenders, I thought the Nets didn't do a whole lot, but had just a sneaky good free agency, getting Patty Mills in for 12 over 2. We're obviously not going to get, FIBA Patty at Brooklyn, but as a backup point guard, you can't get much better than him really at the NBA level. Blake Griffin resigning, I thought just was sneaky. Obviously, it was probably expected, but again, I think it's on a kind of minimum deal, so I thought that was a pretty good get. Bruce Brown as well on a fairly minimum deal, I think is a pretty good get as well, just to re-sign. So it was just about keeping that core together, I guess, and the fact they were able to add Patty Mills to it. They're my favourites for the title next year, I think.
Yeah, obviously there's a health things. What I didn't like about the Brooklyn Nets actually is losing Jeff Green, and kind of surprised he kind of walked out the door. I really thought that he would. He played some big games, and as a small ball 5, he did some great things. So, but I think he must have a caveat in his NBA contract to play for a different team every season. This is team number 12. This is team number 12 he's playing for. So it's kind of weird. But I'm sure the Nets, they'll probably be a favourite for a lot of people.
Yeah. Did you have any others? So you had the Heat, the Lakers. Who was your other team?
Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, and Charlotte. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, my apologies. So the Heat, the Hornets, and the Lakers for you, and the Heat, the Bulls, and the Nets for me. Next up, we'll get into our losers and also a star signing and a scrub signing, as well as some Nuffy nominations. That's next. Alrighty, on to the losers section of free agency. First one for me, going under the radar because they haven't really been on the radar because they haven't signed anyone, and that's the Boston Celtics, who, after getting rid of Kemba Walker, they were linked to Lonzo, linked to a couple other point guards. I'm looking through their roster, I'm just seeing who's their point guard. Like, who is literally, are we going with Peyton Pritchard next season or something? Like, who is their point guard? I'm being just genuinely honest. Are they moving Marcus Smart to the point or something? I don't know what they're doing. I actually don't know where I don't know where their direction is at the moment. The only thing I think they're doing is that they're going to have a massive amount of cap space. Obviously, getting rid of Kemba, they're going to have a massive amount of cap space for next free agency, and I think they're making a big run at Bradley Beal because apparently Beal and Tatum are great mates. So that's what I think they're doing. So does that mean they're just tanking next season and like not even trying to win and just waiting on Bradley Beal to arrive? I don't know.
I couldn't agree more about the Celtics, and I actually have gone out west for my first loser, a very similar situation, the Portland Trailblazers. So, there's been rumors of Damian Lillard trade throughout this whole thing. And the first thing they'd do is scan the market and make him stay, make signings that would make him stay, because he has been incredibly loyal. He's not done anything that indicates that he wants to leave Portland. So they've gone Cody Zeller, Norman Powell. Norman Powell's actually pretty decent. Ben McLemore.
Resigning. Yeah.
That's what you've done to try and keep a guy. And I think it's borderline disrespectful. Yeah. He could go to any team in the NBA, yet he still decides to stay. And what you have to offer is Tony Snell. That's what you say. That's how you say thank you to him. I cannot believe you've got generational talent in a way, Damian Lillard, and this is how you decide. This is almost how you treat him. This is what you think of him. So I think it's...
I think they need to go really hard at Simmons. I genuinely do. And if that means... I would try and go hard at Simmons and also keep CJ at the same time. And if the Warriors are throwing up Wiggins and Moses Moody and a couple of first-round picks, well, if I'm the Sixers, I'm Daryl Morey, I'd rather a combination of Nurkic, Anthony Simons, Norman Powell, and multiple first-round picks or something like that along those lines. That's what I would probably prefer. I know that's probably not the haul you want, but if you're really desperate to get rid of Ben Simmons, then that's what I'd do because, yeah, I agree. They're just not doing anything to try and appease Dame, are they?
Well, I'm imagining Damian Lillard and you're looking across at like the Wizards. The Wizards have done way more to try and keep Bradley Beal happy. They put in Russell Westbrook last year. Now they've gone spent they just won't do anything. So I think it's just borderline disrespectful to someone that's how you treat someone who's showed you all his loyalty. I think it's disgusting.
Yeah. Well, we clearly, you just jumped into Portland there. I just want to go back to the Celtics with what the fuck are they doing? I mean, you make one kind of signing, you trade for Josh Richardson, and then your one signing is to get back Enes Kanter, who seems to be playing ping pong between Portland and Boston, just on one team on the other. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't know what Boston are doing either. They're clearly just, I think they must have some kind of agreement a season out that they'll get Bradley Beal, but things can change, and yeah, I don't know. They just don't seem like a destination team anymore either, where a free agent really wants to go to, so I honestly don't know what they're doing.
I've actually could almost group a lot of teams into that because maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but New Orleans, Boston, and Dallas, I had them grouped together for teams that have a superstar type talent. Like, I think Zion Williamson, Luka, and Jason Tatum can be the best player on a championship team. And listen to the moves. So New Orleans gave up a first round pick for Devontae Graham. I love his story. It's great that he's got an incredible step back. But first, is he worth a first round pick? So that's your answer for the thing. Again, you've just touched on all the Celtics. I was trying to rack my brain to think of it. I think they got Chris Dunn, but that's the best move you got. And then Dallas did nothing about the Porzingis contract. They got Reggie Bullock, but that's not going to win a championship. And I wonder, what sort of patience do you have? Like, did they just have in their mind, these guys will stay loyal for a while. They're in a big franchise. But I don't know how you don't make the most of having a generational talent. That's how I feel. You wouldn't be favourite. You wouldn't think anything about their signing, surely.
Yeah, well, I guess, Tatum, the Celtics are a big franchise, so you can never really see Tatum leaving. Luka's about to sign an extension with Dallas. But yeah, the Pelicans were my second big loser. They make the trade of getting rid of Bledsoe and Steven Adams to free up all this salary cap space. To do so, they need to trade from 10 down to 17 to make that happen. And then the best you can do, you link to Chris Paul, you link to, you've still got Lonzo there to try and re-sign. You link to all these point guards, and the best you can do is Devontae Graham. No offense to Devontae Graham, but come on, Pelicans. You're making all these moves to try and sign a big-name free agent or something like that to try and appease Zion and Brandon Ingram, and you end up with Devontae Graham? What's their starting backcourt next season?
Oh, God.
Devontae Graham, and I think Devontae Graham might be a good sixth man in the league. I don't think he's a starter.
Definitely not a starter.
But he'll be starting, and alongside who? Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
Probably.
Josh Hart, if they re-sign him, who's still on the free agency list. I don't know.
You've heard those rumors about Zion being unhappy in New Orleans, haven't you? You've heard that he's...
Yeah.
And this is your answer to that. This is how you're... Okay, well... New Orleans...
You're getting Devontae Graham.
New Orleans are...
Full respect to Devontae Graham.
sound like we're hating.
47 million. There's nothing wrong... giving up a first-round pick is worrying because it's the Pelicans and it'll probably be... I'm assuming that pick's protected. I haven't seen the finalisation of the deal. I'm assuming that's protected because if it's not protected, that's a worry because the Pelicans can easily finish bottom 10. It's not that as such, and it's not also the contract. 47 over 4 years isn't the worst contract for Devontae Graham. That's probably his market value. That's fine. It's just that you made these moves to try and get a Kyle Lowry or to at least try and re-sign Lonzo Ball, and then you do a sign and trade for Lonzo Ball to the Bulls, and what you get back in return is Jarrett Temple and Thomas Satoransky. Really?
I think...
So your starting backcourt is Thomas Satoransky and Devontae Graham next season.
And you've got to... I think New Orleans are just a cursed franchise. They've had Chris Paul, then they had Anthony Davis, and now they've got Zion and could not put a contender together. So maybe it's just who they are as a franchise. My final loser is... It's not a team, actually. I've just got a person, and you touched on him last week. You thought he was delusion personified by asking over 120 million. Dennis Schroeder.
Come on, Dennis.
Come on, Dennis. You referred to him to his first name, so he's in trouble. But he asked for 100+ million, and he, as we know, he turned down a 4-year 85, I believe, early in the season, backing himself. Yeah. And now he's on an NBA roster, same way you and I are on an NBA roster. And I think I've seen the Celtics can offer him maybe 9 million, and this is delusion personified, and this is backfiring at its worst. You'd have had a giggle seeing waking up every morning and seeing you're still not signed. You would have had a giggle there.
I actually feel for him a bit. I do feel for him because he's lost out on a lot of money. But that's, you take the risk like he did, thinking you're better than what you really are. And for a lot of guys, it works out because they actually improve and they get themselves to a stage where they can sign a massive contract. Unfortunately for him, it hasn't worked out. What do you do if you're in this scenario right now if you're him? What do you just go to the team who can offer you the most money, which at this stage is probably $10 million, which is already over half of what you expected to get? Do you just sign a real low contract with a contender or something and try and win a championship? What's the actual move for you? I don't know.
I'd go a lowly contract to a contender, try and just be in a winning franchise. If you go to a shit one, your value just goes even worse down. But that's a lot of money. No one's got any money left, so I'd honestly take whatever.
No, they don't.
The first thing I see, I'd sign. I'm not even kidding. There's no one. No one.
Well, he's gonna get. He's gonna get something, but
no one needs a guard. Yeah, most teams have guards, and no one has money anymore. So honestly, mate, it's actually got to the point of whatever he signs. Maybe you have to go to jack jumpers or something.
Jack jumpers. I was hating on Dennis in our previous. I was hating on him because he's not worth over $20 million a season. He's not. But as a Warriors fan, we need a backup point guard behind Steph Curry. We have the mid-level exception for $5.9 million. I'm happy to give it to Dennis. 5.9 mil. It's a little less than the 2025 that he wanted, but jeepers. Is that what we're getting to here? Where he could, it's not out of the realms of possibility that happens? That's the thing. I'm kind of this whole time I've been the Warriors aren't going to get Dennis with $5.9 million. No team's going to get Dennis for that money. But now it's it's actually a possibility that he signs for less than $6 million.
It backfired. I actually did some bit of research on this. Do you know Victor Oladipo had a $120 million extension offered to him at the Pacers? He said no, and now now he doesn't have $120 million.
Yeah, there's just a couple of guys like this, isn't there? That. Yeah, I don't know. Good luck to him. Hopefully he gets on it. The best idea I actually heard was that the Thunder have cap room, right? So Sam Presti gives him... This was on a Warriors podcast. I can't remember what podcast it was, but someone did say offer him 15... Sam Presti offer a 1-year, $15 million contract. So he still kind of gets his $15 million. It's obviously not a long-term deal. Gets his $15 million, and then he starts or something for the Thunder, and he plays that kind of role that he did 2 seasons ago, plays it well, and then all of a sudden he's on a reasonable contract, and at the trade deadline or something, Sam Presti just throws him out there and says, anyone want to offer up a first-round pick for him? Kind of thing. And that way Presti can get another first-round pick in the door to go with his 468 other first-round draft picks over the next 7 years. And maybe he can go to a contender in that situation. I don't know. But that sounded like a pretty good idea to me from kind of Dennis's point of view, for the Thunder as well. And then it also obviously means he can go into free agency next year and see what he can get. But yeah, right now it's an absolute shit show for Dennis Schroeder.
Maybe they've been listening to our podcast because his value just tanked. I think because he's backed himself or something. Someone that I think got a very good contract in best value. The next segment we're going to talk about is the star and scrub contract wise. My star is Lonzo Ball. As you know, I'm very, 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 very high on Lonzo Ball. I think his potential is immense, and he just needed a team that gives him the ball. And I think if he turns into at least who I think he will be anyway, I think this contract will be a steal. We just saw what Drew Holiday can do for a team, not only in the finals, but in the Olympics. You would have watched the gold medal match. Yeah. He shut down all the French guards there. He shut them down completely. And if Lonzo Ball is anything close to that, he's got the elite playmaking ability as well. This contract will look absolutely beautiful in the future. So I have him as my star contract signing. The situation, the figure, and the youth that he has. Do you liked it? You were very happy with that contract for that.
Yeah, I liked it. I would have liked it more if they kind of didn't get DeRozan for Lonzo's purposes. For the Bulls, I liked that they got DeRozan. But I mean, just for Lonzo's development, I guess, I think that stalls it a bit because ideally he's a good 3-point shooter, a very, very good defender, and also, a very good ball handler and playmaker. And that can, come together as a really, really good high-end NBA player. And that can be a really valuable contract, as you said. But with DeRozan there, obviously the ball handling duties, the playmaking duties probably lessen a little bit. And he might not necessarily become that top-end player that he could potentially become. But I think he can still be a really good player. And I think that contract can still look pretty good. So I like that. The star signing for me, I think, was Sean Marks, GM of the Nets, beating out the Lakers and my Warriors, unfortunately, for Patty Mills. And I want to, shout out Patty again. 42 points last night. Jeez, that was an incredible performance, just to go over it again. But, to get him $12 million over 2 years, we spoke about it in the preview. Would he take a little bit less to go to a contender? That happened. I'm so disappointed in come the Warriors. Would have loved it, obviously. Him being Australian and then him being, one of the best backup point guards in the league would have been fantastic behind Steph Curry. But not to be. We'll be backing up Kyrie Irving. And who knows, with Kyrie and his abilities to go walk about and just flail off and do whatever he wants for a couple of weeks, we could see Patty starting, 10 or so games this season.
Well, Patty Mills, I want to see him outside of the Spurs system. I've already seen him what he does when he's got all those open looks. Imagine the amount of open threes that Joe Harris got. Imagine what Patty Mills is, a prolific three-point shooter. So you've touched on it throughout this podcast, but I think the worst value contract signing, the scrub, was DeRozan for the fit. It kind of puzzled me, though, because he was a free agent, right? he could have just signed to the Bulls, but they gave up assets for him. And I don't really know, outside of, I think his game style is very similar to Zach LaVine's in the way the shooting guard that gets maybe 5 rebounds and 5 assists as well. Like, efficient scorers, I'm sure, but both of them don't play defense. Lonzo Ball, I'm lauding on about him being a Drew Holiday. I'm talking about Lonzo Ball being like a lockdown defender. I still think he's a little while away. I don't think he can make up for 2 other people who don't play defense. Patrick Williams is only in his second year. Nikola,
and Vucevic isn't a rim protector. He's not a defender, so
he's this offensive player. And I kind of wonder though, because I don't think DeRozan can be a number 1. I think he gets to a point where he just can't go any further than he can be the best player on the team, but he just gets to a point. And I don't think he's got that guy for the Bulls. And it's a lot of money. You gave up assets as well. I don't think the fit for where the Bulls are. Yeah, I don't know about the fit. You had your reservations even before, like when you first heard about it here.
Yeah, well, I had them as a winner, I guess. But yeah, they'll be a fascinating team to watch because you've got guys there, DeRozan, Levine, Lonzo, and also Vucevic. I think Vucevic is best when you give the ball to him in the mid-post area, facing up towards the basket or whatever, and he can actually go one-on-one because he's actually pretty good off the dribble for a big guy. But yeah, you got 4 guys there who kind of need the ball in their hands a lot. Maybe apart from Lonzo, but the other 3, I just don't know how that fits. And DeRozan, Levine, and Vooch just don't play a lick of defense. So I don't know how much Lonzo and a second-year Patrick Williams, as we spoke about, can actually make up for that. I mean, Kobe White comes off the bench. That's another guy that you need the ball in the hands of if he's going to be a 6-man kind of thing. So they're kind of stacked that guard rotation now with Lonzo, Levine. DeRozan's probably going to play more small forward, but he's a shooting guard still. Then you've got Kobe White coming off the bench. Then you've got Caruso, who they just signed to $9 million a season. So, yeah, they'll be fascinating. I had them in the winners, but whether they actually take that much of a jump, I think they've got a wide-ranging, I guess, level next season in terms of, I could see them finishing as high as like 4th, and I could also see them finishing as low as like 11th, 12th, where they were this season. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen with them. We probably will do more of a preview on them going forward before the season starts, but yeah, they'll be absolutely fascinating.
I think that might be. We talked about those teams at the start of the season that will score 140 but get the 150 scored on them. So I think the Bulls might just be that team for next year. I don't see a lick of defense being played at all.
That's true. Yeah. My scrub signing, well, I've got a couple here. Honourable mention, I don't know how the Spurs gave Zach Collins $21 million. When you look at these guys who are really injury prone, haven't played much over the past couple of seasons, which Zach Collins is in that category. He hasn't played at all, really. Victor Oladipo, as we talked about, gets basically a minimum contract from Miami, 1 year. And let's be honest, Victor Oladipo has done 1,000 times more in his career than Zach Collins has. Then you have a guy like even Otto Porter Jr. signs for the Warriors on a minimum. He's done a lot more in his career than Zach Collins has. So why is Zach Collins getting a 3-year deal at $7 million a season? When, 1, he's been injury prone as hell in the last 2 seasons, and 2, he hasn't really, like, he's been, looked promising for Portland at times, but he hasn't been out of this world like, oh my God kind of player. So that was just kind of my special mention there for just a weird contract. And the other one I had, just, it doesn't really mean anything to anybody, but Scott Perry, GM of the Knicks, giving Nerlens Noel $32 million over 3 years. He had a good season, but the kind of big guys that are there to defend on the interior, grab rebounds, block a few shots, and are just kind of rim runners and lob threats. I mean, I feel like you can find those guys in free agency for $5-6 million or less, like a JaVale McGee type, that kind of guy. Like those kind of guys, I think, it should be gone are the days that those guys get, $11-12 million a season. I just don't think it should happen. I mean, Jared Allen's maybe an exception because he's probably the best of that bunch, but yeah, I don't particularly like Nerlens Noel. Nearly $11 million a season. Really?
You don't have to even go to the marketplace. Just look in your locker room. You've got Mitch Robinson sitting there. That's a rim running big. Yeah. You don't need to be signing Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, exactly. And Mitch Robinson has a lot Yeah. Mitch Robinson has a lot higher upside than Nerlens Noel. And so Nerlens Noel, maybe they're worried about the injury concerns of Mitch Robinson, but I mean, $11 million for a backup big? Really?
The Knicks spent all their money on the first day. It's kind of funny. They spent all their money straight away. It's kind of funny.
I feel like all these contracts are just designed to be like good fillers for when they go for a start. It's like Fournier getting like $19 million a season. Kind of like, why? D Rose got like a fair chunky deal for him. Noel, as we spoke about. Yeah, just strange.
Knicks are the Knicks. I look forward to their off seasons a lot. I really look forward to their off season.
At least they didn't sign Dennis to. I mean, they got Kemba for $8 million a season. That was handy.
That's a good.
If he can stay fit, I have real reservations on his knee and whether he can ever be close to the player he was. But for $8 million, pretty good.
Well, he's an undersized guard that relies on his quickness, and he's lost his quickness, and he can't shoot from outside. So God knows what he will turn in.
Yeah. I feel like the Knicks Knicks fans might be in for a shock, I think. They'll be thinking, Kemba Walker, big name, getting him for $8 million, what a signing. Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to play like a max level player or anything near it, to be honest.
I saw Knicks fans throwing a parade after the first game they took off the Hawks in the first round. I thought, oh no, this is going to come crashing down. So the Knicks fans are entertaining, that's for sure.
Anyway, let's get on to another new segment that we have on the podcast. NBA Nuffy nominations. Did you want to start us off with one? Obviously, we're doing, I guess, weird things that have happened in the NBA. Just someone that said something a bit weird or done something a bit weird or has just said something completely wrong along those lines. This one, the last one we did with, obviously, what was it, PJ Tucker and the JaVale McGee, the reporter interviewing JaVale McGee. I didn't chuck that up on social media, but I will chuck this one up and just get a little bit of a vote on it, on who we think is the Nuffy of the podcast. But did you want to start us off, Lee?
I did want to start us off, and I've actually already organised a bit of audio for my Nuffy, and I'll just play that now. All right, that was the audio. It's Kawhi Leonard. You don't hear anything from him. You hear absolutely nothing about it.
I was so confused about where you were going with that. I was so confused.
I played absolutely nothing because you hear absolutely nothing from Kawhi Leonard. This bloke absolutely boggles my mind. How quiet, non-responsive, just almost seems detached from his own teammates. Remember when he got injured and then went and sat up in the stands and didn't come down, sit near the bench?
Yeah, we talked about that.
I've heard rumours of him, like, he just show up late to, like, they make their plane take off late because just showed up late, and I think he screws them up. So he opted out of his contract, and they didn't know what he was doing, so they couldn't sign anyone else because they didn't know what sort of money they could spend. And it kind of boggles my mind that they've done so much for you as a person. They've given you literally everything, every player you wanted, and your way is being almost non-responsive, and then you turn around and say, I want a 5-year, $200 million contract. You've got injury issues, you don't show up to try, and this is how you treat some... he's the weirdest bloke, and there's my Nuffy of the week.
Kawhi's free agency actions are Nuffy worth, apparently, according to Lee. Yeah, is he going to make a decision? Just choose what... I think everyone knows he's re-signing with the Clippers. That's a guarantee because no other team has any cap space now. No one has any cap space. So, unless it was some kind of sign and trade, he's going back to the Clippers. Everyone knows it. Just come out and just sign the contract or do whatever, please. It's just stop. There's a bit of me time about it, I think. Just stop.
He's completely changed to a different person. I thought he was like this silent superstar or whatever, but he's actually an arsehole. I don't like it. I like Kawhi Leonard's actually a bad bloke.
Oh, Jesus.
He is.
Jeez, that's going a bit harsh.
No, he is.
All right. I don't think Kawhi listens to the podcast, but if he did, he's now turned off.
No, I'll stand by that. I'll stand by that.
Anyway, my Nuffy nomination. We're going back over a week. The NBA draft obviously happened. Few people were a bit interested with the fact that Kendrick Perkins was on the draft coverage for ESPN, but I thought he did a reasonable job for the most part. But a couple of things. First of all, special mention to Perk, who, as a Warriors fan, I was heavily invested in their 2 picks. Kuminga comes up at pick 7, and Perk decides to compare him to Jordan Bell. So I thought that was a bit weird. Like, Jordan Bell was a second-round pick who was really only good because he was, had 4, he wasn't even good, but he was only playable because he had 4 All-Stars in his team. Now he's kind of out of the league. Like, really? You're comparing this guy who could be a superstar to Jordan Bell? Anyway, that's not why he's the nuffy. No, pick 14. Pick 14, right, the Warriors. We get to Moses Moody. Now, I don't think it's a name that is overly difficult to say. And anyway, here's how Perk tried to say the name Moses Moody.
Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, 2 of the best to ever do it. When you look at Moody, what he did in college, as far as him being
What is he doing? I'm just gonna play it again.
Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, 2 of the best to ever do it. When you look at Moody, what he did in college, as far as him being
He fumbled the name about 6 times in the space of 4 seconds. I spelled
really
Moses
bad.
Moody's name out, put it in front of my missus, and said, "How would you say this name?" And she said, "Moses Moody." And I was like, "That is correct." And then showed her that, and it was just like, this is incredible. How, I don't know. I can't comprehend. I can't comprehend.
You can't even try. You can't even try saying how he said it.
I'm trying to
You can't say how he tried to
Mosey
say it.
Moodis.
Modi Moody.
What he was. I don't know. I don't know how that happened.
Oh,
honestly,
Kendrick Perkins. Seriously, follow him on Twitter if you don't already. He's thoroughly entertaining for many reasons, as we can see. Modi Moody.
Oh my god. I think it's getting a bit out of control, so I think that's probably where we have to end the podcast. Have you got anything else for us?
No, that's everything for now. I'm sure it's been a big couple of weeks for the NBA, and I hope there's more to come. But anything else from you? Nothing else to...
No, not really. Not after that finish. That's quite incredible from Perk. Summer League's about to start tomorrow, though, so looking forward to that, seeing all the new draftees come in and do their business. Josh Giddey plays against Cade Cunningham tomorrow, so looking forward to that. Battle of the young point guards.
Look forward to it already. The season can't get here any faster.
Yeah, I absolutely can't wait. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Star and Scrub NBA podcast. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify and follow us on all your social media channels. Thanks, guys.